My daughter told the internet I was a monster before she ever asked me what really happened. She posted on Reddit, on one of those family drama and AITA subreddits, calling me a controlling, abusive mother who chose a man over her own child. She went viral. Millions of strangers saw my face blurred in screenshots, heard my voice in their heads as the villain of her story, and decided I deserved to lose my daughter forever. The worst part? For a long time, even I thought maybe they were right. I'm Emily, I'm 46, and for most of my life my identity was simple: I was mom. I raised my daughter, Hannah, mostly alone after her father walked out when she was 3. I worked 2 jobs, did school runs half asleep, skipped meals so she could have what she needed. I wasn't perfect. I yelled sometimes. I got overwhelmed. I made decisions she didn't understand. But every choice I made, even the messy ones, felt like survival, not cruelty. So the night I saw my own child's words painting me as the villain in a Reddit story, it felt like someone ripped my heart out and handed it to an audience for entertainment. The story started, at least publicly, the day Hannah moved out. She was 19, furious, and shaking as she dragged her suitcases down the stairs. Her boyfriend, Tyler, waited outside in his old car, engine running like a countdown. We had just had the biggest fight of our lives. I told her there were rules if she stayed under my roof. She told me it was no longer my roof, because I didn't pay for it alone. She didn't know the whole truth about that. She thought I was just being controlling. I thought I was protecting her. Neither of us realized how far it would spiral. Tyler, to me, was every red flag wrapped in a pretty smile. He was older than her, charming in that lazy, practiced way, and always just a little too interested in her bank account, her student loans, her future career. He never kept a job more than a few months, but he always had a new gaming console or a new tattoo. He flattered her, love-bombed her, made her feel like finally someone chose her first. I recognized the pattern because I had lived it at her age. She thought I was jealous and bitter. I knew I was terrified. The breaking point seemed small on the surface. I found out she had given Tyler access to her savings account, just in case. When I checked the balance, yes, I still had permission and access. We were missing almost everything. Money she had saved from part-time jobs, birthday gifts from my parents, even a small college fund I had scraped together over 10 years. Gone. When I confronted her, she defended him so fiercely it scared me more than the missing money. He just borrowed it, Mom. We're a team. You wouldn't understand what real love looks like. We screamed. I said things I regret, that he was using her, that she was being naive, that if she chose him over basic safety, I wouldn't support it. She said things I can't unhear, that I was bitter, lonely, and trying to ruin her happiness because I'd failed in my own relationships. She accused me of sabotaging her life just like I sabotaged her childhood. In that moment, she wasn't my little girl. She was a stranger with my daughter's eyes, defending a man who had drained her savings. The rules I set that night weren't gentle. I told her that if Tyler was going to stay over, he had to contribute financially and actually be working. No more unannounced weeks at our house eating our food, using our electricity, calling it his second home while paying for nothing. I told her I wouldn't co-sign any loans involving him. And I told her if she ignored those boundaries, she could not live with me. I thought I was drawing a firm line to protect her. She heard, choose him or choose me. She chose him. It wasn't instant. There were days she didn't talk to me, then late night texts asking if she could come home, then sudden switches back to, Tyler says you're manipulating me, Mom. Eventually, one fight ended with her pulling out her phone, filming herself crying, and storming out the front door while I shouted after her to please at least take some food and her medications. She slammed the door. I didn't know until later that she posted the whole thing online. Weeks passed. My calls went unanswered. My texts got single-word replies or nothing at all. Then one afternoon, my friend sent me a link. Emily, isn't this Hannah? It was a Reddit post. Long, detailed. Viral. The title was something like, AITA for cutting off my toxic mother after she tried to ruin my relationship and kicked me out. There was my kitchen. My voice, in the background, stripped of context and edited down to the worst moments. Comment after comment calling me abusive, narcissistic, controlling. People telling her to go no contact, to never look back, to protect herself from that woman at all costs. I read that post 10 times. I watched the video clip 20. I could barely recognize myself. In her version, I had never helped her, never listened, never supported her relationships, never protected her. In her version, I kicked her out on the street in the middle of the night with no money, screaming that I never wanted to see her again. That last part never happened. But to the internet, it may as well have. The story was already spreading. People were stitching it on TikTok, reacting to it on YouTube, using my worst moments as content. I wanted to message her. To explain. To tell her that the mortgage on our house was only kept alive because of sacrifices she never knew about. That the man she trusted with her money had already messaged me privately asking for a small loan to help them get settled. That the bank had called me months ago about suspicious withdrawals tied to his name. That I had been trying to reach her before it got worse. Instead, I closed the laptop and sat in the dark, staring at the silent hallway where her bedroom door used to be covered with posters and fairy lights. Then things escalated from painful to terrifying. One night, around 2 a.m., my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. A panicked voice, a woman I didn't know, shouted over loud music, "Are you Hannah's mom? She gave me your number. You need to come get her. She's not okay." The background sounded like a party turned bad, breaking glass, shouting, someone laughing way too loudly. I grabbed my keys and drove faster than I should admit. When I found Hannah, she was half conscious on a filthy couch in a stranger's living room, her makeup smeared, her phone buzzing non-stop. Tyler was nowhere in sight. A boy I had never seen before shrugged and said, "Her boyfriend bounced like an hour ago." I wanted to scream. Instead, I wrapped her in a blanket, carried her to the car, and prayed the whole way home that she was just drunk and not something worse. In that moment, internet opinions, Reddit comments, my own humiliation, none of it mattered. She was still my baby, even if she hated me. At the hospital, while they checked her, her phone finally slipped out of her hand. Another notification from Reddit lit up the screen. Another comment, thousands of upvotes, someone telling her she was so brave for going no contact with a mother like me. I stared at it, feeling both rage and crushing sadness. Brave? She was unconscious in a hospital bed, her loving boyfriend gone, her savings drained. And I was the monster? When she stabilized, the doctors told me what I already suspected. Alcohol, anxiety meds, and something else in her system she didn't remember taking. She woke up groggy, confused, and immediately defensive when she saw me. "Why are you here?" she slurred. "I told you I don't need you anymore." I could have shouted back, reminded her who brought her there, who signed the forms, who sat awake while strangers on the internet praised her for cutting me off. Instead, I just said, "You might not need me. But I will always come when you're in trouble. Even if you hate me." She turned away. But I saw her eyes fill with tears before she did. The next few weeks were quiet. Too quiet. She didn't move back in. She stayed with Tyler, according to what little I could see from her social media. I watched from the sidelines as their perfect couple posts slowly turned into vague quotes about being hurt by the ones you love and starting over. Then, one day, without warning, police knocked on my door. "Ma'am, do you know a Tyler James?" My stomach dropped. They informed me he was under investigation for fraud. Multiple reports of him borrowing money, taking out loans in other people's names, and disappearing. One of the accounts flagged was connected to my daughter. My house started spinning. This was it. The thing I had tried so desperately to prevent. The thing that had turned me into the villain in her story. I called her repeatedly. No answer. I texted her, "Please. It's urgent. Police were here. Call me." Hours later, she finally replied with one word, "Why?" I wanted to scream through the phone. Instead, I wrote back, "Because the man you think I hated for no reason is using you. Because I have proof." Then I sent her the photos the officer had shown me, the messages from the bank, the copy of a loan application with her name and his email address on it. She didn't reply for a long time. Finally, one evening, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find her standing there, eyes red, holding her phone. No makeup. No filters. No audience. Just my daughter, looking smaller than she had when she left. She didn't say hello. She just shoved her phone at me and said, "Why didn't you tell me everything?" I wanted to laugh at the irony. "I tried," I said quietly. "Every time I brought up anything about him, you blocked me out. You told the entire internet I was controlling and trying to ruin your life. What else was I supposed to do?" She winced at that. I thought you were doing it again. Like when I was a kid," she said. "Always making decisions, never explaining. Just telling me what to do because you knew better." We sat at the kitchen table, this time without cameras, without Reddit, without strangers judging us. Just mother and daughter, wrecked and exhausted. She confessed that she had caught Tyler messaging other girls, that he had borrowed money from her friends too, that he always had a new excuse. She had started to doubt him, but every time she tried to leave, he'd say, "You're just like your mom," throwing away real love. He weaponized my mistakes against her. Then she said the words that shattered me and healed me at the same time, "Mom. I posted about you on Reddit because I thought I knew the whole story. I didn't. I just knew how it felt to be your daughter. I didn't know what it cost you to be my mother." It turned out there was a reason she thought I chose men over her. Years ago, when she was little, my ex, her father, would show up randomly with gifts and then vanish. I never told her that I'd beg him for child support, that I'd swallow my pride and call his new wife asking for help. All she saw was him leaving and me going dead inside afterwards. When she was 10, she overheard my mom, her grandma, say, "Emily always prioritizes her relationships over that child." It stuck. Kids don't understand context. They just absorb the wound. We talked for hours. About her childhood. About the nights I cried in the bathroom so she wouldn't hear. About the time I said, "You're too much," when I was overwhelmed, and how she carried that sentence in her bones for 9 years. About how she had felt like my emotional support person, not my daughter, when I was lonely after the divorce. And she told me something I never expected, that her first therapist had told her to set boundaries and go no contact if necessary, but never explained that boundaries could also mean conversation and context, not just cutting someone off overnight. Then she admitted the part that had been haunting me. "I know you saw the post," she whispered. "I saw in the analytics that someone from our town had shared it. I figured it would get a few comments. I didn't think it would go that far. And then, people loved hating you. It felt like validation. Every time someone called you a narcissist, I felt less guilty." She started crying so hard she could barely get the next words out. "But when you still came to get me that night, after everything I said about you, I realized maybe the internet didn't know you at all." The truth came out slowly, like a painful, necessary surgery. She told me how alone she felt growing up, watching me struggle and internalizing that as, "I'm not worth an easy life." She said the first time she ever felt purely prioritized was with Tyler, because he said, "You're all that matters to me," even as he used her. Love and control got so tangled in her mind that she couldn't tell the difference. And me? I was so afraid of repeating my own mother's softness turned enabling that I went too far in the opposite direction: rules, structure, tough love that sometimes looked just like rejection. It took weeks before she took the Reddit post down. Before that, she edited it with an update: "I found out my mom was right and my boyfriend was scamming me. We're going to therapy. Please don't harass her." Some people apologized in the comments. Most just moved on to the next story. But the damage in real life stayed. My coworkers had seen it. Distant relatives had seen it. Neighbors had whispered. I felt exposed, humiliated, betrayed. What was I supposed to do? Punish her forever because she told a half-true story from a place of pain? We started therapy. Together this time, not separately, not in secret. In one session, the therapist asked her, "When you wrote that your mom chose men over you, what were you really saying?" She thought for a long time, then said, "I was saying she didn't tell me the full truth." I felt shut out. So I filled in the blank with the worst version. Then the therapist turned to me and asked, "And when you called her naive and threatened to kick her out, what were you really saying?" I swallowed and answered, "I was saying I was scared to death she'd repeat my life and I didn't know how to stop it without becoming my own controlling mother." A few weeks ago, she did something that broke me in the best way. She posted again. Same account. Same subreddit. Title, update: "I called my mom a monster online. Then I found out the truth." This time, she wrote about the police visit, the loans, the hospital night, the therapy. She wrote about how easy it is to turn complex pain into a simple villain story when you're hurt. She didn't paint me as a saint. She didn't excuse my mistakes. But she said, "My mom isn't a narcissist. She's a flawed human who did the best she could with what she had. And I almost lost her because strangers loved my pain as entertainment." That post didn't go as viral. Fewer people want to watch reconciliation than destruction. But the people who did read it left different kinds of comments. Some said they realized they had done the same with their own parents. Others admitted they might have judged too quickly. For me, the most important part was that my daughter finally told a story where I wasn't just the villain. I was a person. So here's the real truth, the one behind the clickbait. My daughter betrayed me before she knew me. She betrayed me for an audience, for validation, for the illusion of control over a life that felt chaotic. But she also did what I never had the courage to do at her age: she questioned the narrative, asked for answers, and then, when she finally saw the full picture, she came back and owned her part in the damage. That takes more bravery than any viral post. And me? I had to learn that being a mother doesn't mean being a martyr or a monster. It means telling the truth, even when it makes you look bad. It means saying, "I hurt you," without immediately defending yourself. It means accepting that your child's version of the story is real to them, even if it leaves out chapters you thought were obvious. It means choosing, again and again, to show up, even when the world has already decided you're the villain. If you've ever read a Reddit family drama, or some wild toxic parent revenge thread and thought, "Wow, I know exactly who's right and who's wrong," maybe remember this: you're only seeing one angle of a shattered glass. Behind every viral story is a real family, a real history, and a lot of truth that never makes it to the screen.